And that's one of the key things I think is that for success in life generally is your ability to endure suffering. Is like you can choose to suffer now, like in a small, like short period of time, or you can suffer for the next fucking 30 years. And I think that's the reality with most people when it comes to like they've never been in shape. They're not willing to like adhere to the shorter term pain of the initial part of the process, and then they end up suffering for the whole of their life because they don't take that first leap.
Because it's something you have to develop, right? It's a mindset. Is like the suffering and the pain and the unpleasantness of it. Because when you first do something, it's like if the shower's hot and it goes cold, naturally you want to jump out, right? But the more you do that, the more you build up that part of your brain that can endure. I can't remember the scientific part of it, but I heard it somewhere and it made a lot of sense to me. So it's like, how do you push yourself? Like even on the rowing stuff, oh, you're so fit. I'll go on it. I did a marathon after a hangover and I hadn't ran for 6 years and I was a 100-kilo bodybuilder. Like, oh, have you done that? You're so fit. I said, I'm not at all fit. It's just, you can endure it. Like, ask someone who's never done anything like that and they can't do it. But every time you push yourself a little bit more, it's so much easier to go through those sort of, that process, I think, of injury.
Yeah, and it's just building mental resilience. And I think that's the biggest issue that the world has is people getting soft. And I actually said this something the other day, I feel like Dubai is making me soft in some respects. Like I have my fucking housemaid comes around every day, my car gets cleaned for me, like Dubai food gets delivered, you don't have to do anything. And it's like, although it's a highly efficient, like highly productive life, it does make you soft as shit in a lot of respects. And there's some respects I was like, maybe I just need to like start doing something weird, like sleeping on the floor or something, like a bit fucking just like break up the pattern. And I think the more you can push yourself more outside of like your realm of comfort, because one of the things I say even to like the people we work with in terms of fitness or helping their businesses is like, you should be feeling like probably 3 to 4 days a week, like uncomfortable, slightly scared of what you're doing at the moment. And that's when you know you're like the upper end of the threshold of what you're doing and you're like pushing your potential. Problem is that most people aren't willing to go anywhere near that and they want to stay in the middle of their comfort zone. And if you stay there, you're never going to go anywhere. You're just going to keep getting the same you got.
It's an easy rut to fall into, isn't it? It's, again, especially in Dubai where everything's done for us, such an easy life for the majority of us anyway. I feel like anything with fitness related as well, bodybuilding, any sport you do, you have to have that element where you push yourself, because we still need it, I think, to be healthy and functioning. You have to feel like if you finish a session, and you're like, even the kickboxing sessions I do, when I finish those sessions, I'm like, fuck, that's over. Even though I love it, I'm like, fucking glad that ended. And I'm like looking at the clock and I'm like, oh, can't be much longer left. But if I train on my own sometimes, will I push myself that hard? Probably not. And never push yourself as hard as someone else will push you. No matter how strong mentally you are, if someone goes, do an extra rep or do an extra 10 seconds or go a little bit faster, you're going to do it. Because we bargain with ourselves, don't we, in our own heads.
And also as men, we're highly competitive, so no one wants to push you out. And
yeah, exactly.
I remember, I don't know if you know George Armstrong, he's been on the podcast episode before all this and probably verging on the edge of psychotic. I don't think I've ever trained with him like it. And he, like, there was 3 of us training. I remember just with first exercise doing lying hamstring curl, and you know, you're like, this is going to be fucking awful. Like after the first set, you can see how this is going to go.
I fucked up.
Yeah, it's like, this is going to be interesting. And but that's the key thing. I think one of the most important things for anyone, if you struggle to push your training, is to go and train with someone else, ideally who's more advanced than you.
Yeah.
Because they'll push you and give you a real kick up the arse, and also a perspective in terms of like strength levels. Because it's one of the biggest things I think with people in the, like say from me moving from the UK to here, just generally, is that you can be very easy to be a big fish in a small pond in like a little town in Wales, little town in England. Whereas you come to Dubai or you go to the US or wherever, no one gives a fucking shit. Like there's someone who's bigger than you, someone who's stronger than you, someone who's fitter than you, someone richer than you, someone's got more followers than you, whatever. Like,
and that's naturally then how you're going to progress, isn't it, as well? I remember when I was training in this little gym in the Forest of Dean. It was a tiny gym, probably like twice the size of this room. And I was the biggest guy in there. I was 80 kilo. I was the biggest guy in there. And I moved to Dubai. And the first gym I went into was Train SF, Oculus. And I saw like all the guys in there. And I was like, holy shit, I'm actually like really not big at all. Because I thought I was pretty big. And I moved here and I was like, okay, I've got a long way to go. And I think if I'd stayed in that same environment, maybe I would have got a bit bigger, but my bodybuilding wouldn't have progressed how it has.
It's saying perspective is everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's makes big difference.